I get the short straw. So, thank you, Bill, for letting me use your mic. I'd like to thank the members of Temple Emanu-el, the League of Women Voters, as well as the Jewish Relations Council tonight for allowing us to present our positions and our arguments and help persuade you in the direction to make this country as well better. My name is Jeff Latas, and a little bit about myself now. I grew up in a small two-bedroom home with two sisters and an older brother. Son of a union man who was a school teacher initially and couldn't make ends meet, and became an oil refinery man. I put myself through school through the University of Arizona before I was a product of public schools. I moved out here to Arizona in 1978 where I managed to get my degree in aerospace engineering. I was commissioned into the Air Force where I spent 20 and a half years. While in the Air Force, I actually flew 5 tours of duty in the Middle East, including Desert Shield and Desert Storm. Went back 4 other times for Northern and Southern Watch. I did a Pentagon tour where I worked weapons requirements or weapons modernization programs. And this is really what has driven me towards a belief in our Constitution and how valuable those rights and liberties that Constitution really is. I have found a very fond relationship with that because I put my life on the line to defend the rights that that Constitution guarantees. You know, we've spent hundreds of billions of dollars now on this debacle in the Middle East. It has made the region incredibly destabilized. We see the spillover now, not only in Iran, but we see it in the Western Middle East. This last month that we've seen the violence increase, all because of the pressure of our occupation of Iraq. With the increased pressure of this, we're going to see even more violence in the Middle East because of our dependency on oil alone. It's the oil that's driving a very unstable situation for the globe in general. This is not good for our country, it's not good for the Middle East, and it's not good for the world. We've raised our debt now to almost $9 trillion, and there's no end in sight in deficit spending. We invest money overseas versus investing our money here in the United States. This is something that is driving our economy to a standstill. We need to relook at these trade agreements and start looking at investing in our own country, in new technologies that will help us end our dependency on oil. I'm glad that you all could come out tonight and hear our issues. I look forward to the questions that we get. And once again, thank you for showing up. Well, I will respectfully disagree. This is not the hottest issue that we're facing in this community right now. It is an issue that the Republicans would like to make the #1 issue because they want to divert the attention away from what's going on in the Middle East with thousands of our troops dying for the sake of oil and destabilization. The #1 issue in this district for Democrats, by several polls, is Iraq. #2 was education. #3 was medical care. Immigration and border issues were well below the pile. So let's not be mistaken and let's not be misled by the media and the Republicans when it comes to what the real issues that we're facing right now. We Democrats have to stand up and face what the real issues that are affecting us the most, and it is not the immigration and border issues. However, it is an issue that we must face. And it's an issue that this Congress that's currently in Washington refuses to deal with, which, oh, by the way, in my opinion, is amnesty. They refuse to act on it. They have decided to postpone any legislation until after the election, just so they can raise the rhetoric up to that #1 issue and drag the media along with them. If this Congress really wants to solve our immigration issues, we have to face the root cause of this problem. The root cause of the problem is that there are economies in the Western Hemisphere that cannot support their entire population. We have to face that fact if we want to end the immigration problem, not only here in this country, but other countries that have similar problems. That's the long term. Short term, we have neglected to enforce the laws that are currently in the books. We allow many multi-corporations, multinational corporations, to continually break the law, and we know about it. Companies, mainly the meatpacking companies, actually go to Mexico and recruit migrants. They pay their way across the border to the coyotes, enriching them. They send them off into these butcher shops, essentially, to make less than a living wage. We end up having to pick up some of the infrastructure costs and healthcare costs, so the CEOs and the executives of these corporations can increase their profit margin. When they increase their profit margin, they end up getting more and more bonuses, and the stocks go up, and they can keep on paying off their corrupt congressmen, and nothing changes. We have to enforce the law on the books. When we do that, it will force new immigration law that's realistic, immigration law that will allow migrants to come through entry points versus crossing the illicit areas, which makes it easier for our Border Patrol to enforce the borders from those who are truly the criminal element, which are the drug smugglers, and that's the security problem. You know, Israel has been one of our strongest allies for years and years and years, and it's a true beacon of democracy in the Middle East. Unfortunately, as far as this administration is concerned, they have put so much pressure on the surrounding area that it is putting strain on our close ally. This administration invaded Iraq unjustifiably. I know for a fact there were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq because I worked on a program that actually was working to neutralize weapons of mass destruction, and because of the intelligence data that I was exposed to, we knew that Iraq, all the way until the late 1990s, had no weapons of mass destruction. I also know from my experience you can't constitute a weapons program in 2.5 years. I know the invasion was unjustified and we were being misled for some other motivation. Now the problem is the current boil-over that we're seeing in the Middle East due to our occupation of 3.5 years, we're seeing the official death toll of Iraqis at 40,000. We see the unofficial death toll all the way up to 100,000. There are 2 million refugees now in Syria, in Jordan, and Hezbollah, Hamas, and Al-Qaeda are in the middle of these refugee camps recruiting like mad. The pressure on Israel is growing. The pressure on the world terrorism has significantly increased over the last 3 years. This occupation does not fight terrorism, it breeds terrorism. We have to end this occupation of Iraq, and when we do that, the pressure on Israel diminishes. Israel has the right to be a state, but we need peace there. We were working on that. All the way up until the 2000 election, we were achieving real peace in the Middle East, two-state solution. It's been squandered. This administration worked with the Israeli government on this latest little episode in the Middle East. The plan was to take out Hezbollah. The next step was for the United States to invade Iran. This has been published now in the New Yorker. We were working at it, and if this hostility would have gone the way that Dick Cheney wanted it to go, we would now be in a war with Iran and possibly dropping nuclear weapons. This cannot go on any longer. We must end the insanity in the Middle East, and in turn, you will see a peaceful Middle East across the region, not only in the Persian Gulf area, but as well as in the Western Middle East. We have no other choice but to end this occupation in the Middle East for world stability.